So Kemi Badenoch doubling down today on her support for a convicted anti-Semite. The Conservative leader has appointed a former neo-Nazi as an advisor on radicalisation. Joshua Bonehill-Paine had been selected to contest a council election for the Tories, a decision which had prompted anger and concern in the Jewish community. And the backlash led him today to withdraw his candidacy. Well, Adam and Penny, questions now of judgment, do you believe, for Kemi Badenoch?
And I think that we have ended up in the right place on this today, and I was quite struck by his own statement. I mean, I think he is a genuine person trying to make amends for things that he's done in the past. But as he said, he recognises he's got more to do. So he's still got an opportunity to prove that. But I think she's a person of conviction, Kemi, and she believes in rehabilitation. And I think she was right not to throw him under the bus.
Adam?
I think it was a bad day of Kemi Badenoch, first of all, because she misjudged the strength of feeling in our council culture about candidates. Secondly, because she did a sort of drive-by insult to every councillor in this country, basically saying they don't really matter. And thirdly, because she has really deprived the Conservative Party of the weapon of ever questioning candidates selected by other parties, so not a good day.
OK, well, plenty to pick apart on this, but what about the detail of it? Mr Bonehill-Paine had been jailed back in 2016 for the racially aggravated harassment of the former Labour MP, Lucy Berger. Well, tonight she has described his appointment as an insult. Nonetheless, Kemi Badenoch continues to give him her backing, saying this evening: "While I'm sad that Joshua feels he won't be given the space to explain his position and represent his community, I'm glad he's going to work with me and the party on tackling radicalisation as part of our Culture and Integration Commission. If we're going to stop extremism and anti-Semitism, we're going to need help from those people who were part of the problem but have now changed and are being part of the solution. Piling on them and trying to get them cancelled may be sport for other parties, but this is a different Conservative party." Well, let's bring in Lucy McDaid, who's here to join us then. Very interesting on this, and there is plenty to pick apart. But why has Kemi Badenoch chosen this hill to die on?
Well, I don't know, but today it was one of those stories that was unravelling, and I don't know whether you all thought this, but there is always a sense of inevitability that this kind of climb down is then going to happen. So it came earlier this evening. Joshua Bonehill-Paine, should we have a look at what he said on social media? He said, "I'd thought that getting involved in my local council and working hard for my community was a good way to show how much I've changed and that I want to give something back. I realise now that the fight against anti-Semitism is something I actually need to do more of. I need to show the Jewish community how much I regret my previous actions and how hard I'll work to help to fight, to destroy anti-Semitism and rebuild trust." Now, this wasn't welcomed by Lucy Berger, who originally criticised the decision for him to be selected as a council candidate, but then she also went on to say that the decision to welcome this individual as an advisor to the leader of the opposition is no better than allowing him to stand as a council candidate. It's a privileged and influential national role. As a victim of this man's heinous crimes, this appointment is an insult. There are a number of things here to go at, I suppose. One thing kind of pointing out, Kemi Badenoch and Penny, I think you were mentioning this when you said that she's a conviction politician. One thing that people behind the scenes of the Conservative Party say is that Kemi Badenoch is doing well in the polls as a party leader, partly because if people don't agree with their politicians, they seem with her views, they seem to like the fact that she sticks by what she says. She's certainly sticking by her support for Joshua Bonehill-Paine here. But I should point out when it came to Louise Haigh, for example, and yeah, OK, Louise Haigh was in Cabinet and she was convicted of fraud. Kemi said in 2024, this country needs conviction politicians, not politicians with convictions. So is there some kind of criticising here saying there's a bit of a double standard?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. So is the point that Adam made, that other parties have been criticised for their candidate choices, and now, that is going to be difficult for the Conservatives to knock at that door, certainly. But as far as you're concerned, you say it's been effectively the right result for Kemi Badenoch, bringing this man back into the fold, but not via a candidacy. Is it because she does believe in rehabilitation, that genuinely she does not like cancel culture and doesn't believe people should be cancelled? So what are the upsides for her in this, do you think? Or is it the information that he brings from his knowledge of having been an anti-Semite?
Yes, I mean, he's clearly somebody who wants to to contribute and to try and improve the situation in this particular regard. He has been doing that for quite a while and has been making a difference. And I think that she recognises that, and she also, having heard her speak on this today, genuinely believes that people who genuinely show contrition for the actions they have done and want to make amends for it should be afforded an opportunity to do that. Clearly, being a councillor or another elected post, being selected as to get onto the approved list of candidates is one thing. But what he recognises in his statement is you need something else as well, which is you need trust with the general public. And I think his statement was actually very powerful this evening in that it came across as being very humble and recognising that despite what he has already done, it is not enough. And I think that was the right thing for him to do.
Let's listen to Kemi Badenoch. Actually, she was speaking yesterday, so this is her defending his candidacy when she spoke yesterday.
Yes, he is somebody who had been previously convicted, but he is someone who has shown contrition for his crimes, has been rehabilitated, and is spending every day working to solve the very problem which he knew he had caused previously. He's going up and down the country training people, and the Conservative Party believes in second chances. This is not just someone that we've picked up who's a convicted criminal. This is somebody who is actively working to help communities, especially Jewish communities.
Yes, that was clearly before he decided to step down. Also on radio this morning, she said, I'm not giving him a national platform. He's standing to be a councillor in Somerset. It is a local platform looking at parking, putting out bins. That's what councillors do. It's not a national platform. Thereby upsetting councillors everywhere who actually run, millions and billions in budget.
Yes, and also don't forget being a councillor is often seen as a route to becoming an MP, and that's a route to get to the top. So to belittle it in that way, I think was a mistake. I'm sure the statement that he makes is sincere, but what he's basically saying is I shouldn't have put myself forward in the first place. And Kemi Badenoch could, when asked about it, say, well, I'm sure on reflection he'll consider his position. She didn't say that. She actually supported his selection, which I think, was clearly, in this case, a miscalculation. I mean, I should say, I don't think this is a massive story. I mean, I think it's an August story. I don't think it'll go on forever. But, just think how many times we've heard Conservative politicians talking about the Corbyn era, the anti-Semitism at the core of the Labour Party, and how challenging successive leaders or challenging Keir Starmer to root it out, and he responded to that. And then they go ahead and accept as a candidate, not someone advising the party, but actually someone that they're saying to the voters, you should elect this person. They choose someone who is a convicted anti-Semite. I mean, it has to be an enormous mistake.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like an open goal in many respects. Lucy, what have other parties said about it, including Reform, which, Mr Bonehill-Paine seems to suggest he's been, shown an open door by Reform?
Yeah, so on the comment that Kemi Badenoch made about parking, sorting out bins, probably not surprising, Ed Davey weighed in on that part of the debate, saying that was out of order. When it comes to Reform, Joshua Bonehill-Paine is posting screenshots online, effectively appearing to suggest that Reform had approached him to actually stand to be a candidate for Reform UK. Joshua Bonehill-Paine has also admitted that he actually applied to stand for the party. Reform effectively saying ultimately he wasn't selected to be a candidate. Whether or not he actually passed the vetting process, there's evidence online to suggest that he'd passed Reform's vetting process, and that's not the first time that process has come under scrutiny. But they are effectively saying he didn't get approved to be a candidate, so it's not really a problem.
There is another significant aspect about him in this, which is not talked about, that he runs something called the Crewkern Gazette, which is quite a significant online presence, basically doing parody videos using AI. I mean, he did one over the weekend parodying Reform UK as Dad's Army marching off the cliffs of Dover. So I think he is a significant figure at the time when all parties are trying to fight the political battle online as well as anywhere else. And I just wonder if that's one of the reasons why, there's been a little temptation to go soft on him.
And Penny, there must be dozens of former Conservative MPs who would like to be reselected to fight the next election. I don't know if you're one of them. Clearly, exactly. Clearly, Kemi Badenoch is putting barriers in the way on net zero, for example, and on what to do about European rules.
I think.
They are, aren't they? To more moderate Conservatives.
I think what Kemi recognises is it's not good enough to have a stellar manifesto. You actually owe it to the people that vote for you to be in a position to deliver it. And part of what hampered the last years of the Conservative administrations, well, successive ones, was that they couldn't carry out what they were elected to do. Terrible rows during Brexit, for example, being the most memorable. So she's absolutely within her rights, and it's the sensible thing to say to people who want to stand with her, I expect you to do this when we get in. Part of the problem Keir Starmer had was he chose to have, a very light manifesto with nothing in it about welfare reform. And surprisingly, when he tried to do some very modest welfare reforms with Rachel Reeves, his MPs said, well, we didn't stand on a manifesto that was going to do this. We don't want to do it.
Basically, it may be the right thing to do, but basically you're saying scrap the time-honoured Conservative principle of being a broad church.
Yeah.
No, I would say...
You are, right? If you're excluding former cabinet ministers like Grant Shapps.
I think if you're... again, I've just got the speculation to press as to... I've no inside scoop. But it's a sensible thing to do, to say, this is the manifesto we're going to stand on. This is what we think is required to sort out our borders and other issues. This is... If you are elected... as a Conservative MP, this is what we expect you to do.
I get
I think that's
you're
perfectly sensible.
streamlining the Conservative message, but effectively you're saying you cannot support net zero while watching Europe burn, but you can be a former neo-Nazi. That seems to be the choice on offer.
No, I think. Look, Kemi has set out that she believes in climate change. She believes. It's a core tenet of being Conservative that you're there to protect the environment, that matters to you. But what she has exposed is the fantasy of what was a raft of net zero policies, which were actually not going to get us to this target, and were also doing some severe damage to the country in the process. So she has given some sobriety to this issue, but she still cares about the environment. I think the Conservative Party is still a broad church. It's actually, out of every party, I think it's got the highest vote ceiling. It's the largest number of people that say they would be prepared to vote for the party. So I think it still is a broad church.
Yeah, that's how you cast the net.
But if we're going to get in, we've got to deliver for the public what we say we're going to do. I don't think that's a controversial point.
Yeah, OK.
I do think on this, sorry, just to finish, it's an August story, like you were saying, Adam, but I think the thing that will follow Kemi Badenoch around next May, ahead of campaigning for those local elections, is a lot of local journalists, I think especially, because when I was one, I would have asked this question, is that why have you criticised councillors, insulting councillors, by saying that all they do is sort out parking and bins? I think that's the bit of this story that will follow her around.
Yeah, and I think that's you might be right, and I think that's unfortunate because that was in response to a particular question she was asked. She's spoken many times before about all sorts of things that councillors do, particularly if you've got, like social services brief and all those sorts of things. So I think if that does happen, that's unfair.
But is she actually saying, which she appeared to say this morning, there is a lower bar to being selected as a Conservative councillor than selected as a Conservative parliamentary candidate?
We need to move on very quickly, yeah?
No, I was just going to say, it is clearly the process to go through to be an MP is a much more resource-intensive process for the party. And I think out of any political party, the Conservative Party has the most rigorous, as someone that has been through it again, the most rigorous process of any party.